The challenge, 300 words. Samantha Sam Cordero wiped down the mats at Tactical Defense Solutions, the self-defense school she opened after retiring from the Navy 2 years ago. At 45, with silver threading through her dark hair and a body that carried the quiet strength of decades of training, she looked like what she was, a woman who'd lived a full, demanding life. What most people didn't know was the specifics of that life: 25 years as a Navy SEAL, operations across 4 continents, training that had been state-of-the-art before most current operators were born. Sam kept that background quiet. Her students knew she was former military with combat experience. That was enough. The afternoon beginners class was wrapping up when the front door opened and 3 men walked in wearing matching gym gear emblazoned with Apex MMA. The leader, mid-20s, heavily muscled, moving with the cocky assurance of someone who'd never been seriously tested, surveyed the space with barely concealed contempt. This the place teaching tactical defense? His tone made it clear what he thought of that concept. Looks more like soccer mom's self-defense. Sam finished storing equipment, keeping her tone professional. Can I help you, gentlemen? I'm Brett Donovan. I run Apex MMA downtown. Heard you've been telling students that traditional martial arts aren't as effective as real-world tactical training. He made air quotes, his smirk suggesting this was absurd. Thought I'd come see what kind of expert makes claims like that. Sam recognized the type immediately: young, athletic, genuinely skilled but lacking the perspective that came from actual combat rather than controlled environments. She'd trained dozens like him over her career. I teach what worked in my experience, Sam said calmly. Traditional martial arts have value. So does understanding that real violence doesn't follow tournament rules. Your experience? Brett looked her up and down dismissively. What experience would that be? Couple years of Krav Maga classes? YouTube videos? Behind Sam, her assistant instructor, Marcus Webb, a former Army Ranger who'd been with her since she opened the school, tensed. He knew exactly what Sam's background was and clearly didn't appreciate Brett's tone. Sam placed a hand on Marcus's arm, a silent signal to stand down. I have sufficient experience to teach what I teach. Prove it. Brett's challenge was loud enough to draw attention from the remaining students who'd been gathering their gear. You claim real-world tactics beat traditional training? Let's test it. You and me, 3-minute sparring round, right now. Show these people whether your tactical defense actually works. Sam studied him. The challenge was public, designed to embarrass her, backed by the assumption that a middle-aged woman couldn't possibly compete with a young male MMA fighter in his physical prime. She had several options: decline and maintain her professional boundaries, explain her actual background, or accept and risk exposing capabilities she preferred to keep quiet. Then she noticed one of her newest students, a teenage girl named Maya who'd enrolled after being harassed at school, watching with wide eyes, clearly wondering if the techniques Sam taught could actually work against someone like Brett. Sam made her decision. Okay. 3-minute demonstration round. But let's establish parameters. This is sparring, not competition. Controlled contact, we both stop on tap out, and the goal is demonstration not dominance. Agreed? Whatever makes you feel better, Brett said, clearly thinking he'd already won. Light contact is fine. Won't need much to make the point. They cleared a mat space. Sam's students and Brett's friends formed a circle around them. Marcus offered Sam protective gear, but she declined. Brett wasn't wearing any either, and she wasn't going to signal different expectations. Ready? Marcus asked, positioning himself as unofficial referee. Ready, Sam and Brett said simultaneously. 3 minutes. Begin. Brett came in fast and aggressive, exactly as Sam expected. Young fighters with good training but limited real-world experience typically opened with overwhelming offense, relying on physical advantages, strength, speed, youth. Sam didn't meet his aggression with counter-aggression. Instead, she moved laterally, economically, using minimal energy to stay just outside his striking range. Brett threw a combination, jab, cross, leg kick, all textbook MMA, all properly executed. Sam redirected rather than blocked, letting his momentum work against him. When he overcommitted to a power shot, she was already inside his guard, controlling his elbow with one hand while her other hand positioned near his throat, not striking, just demonstrating position. Carotid control, she said calmly, releasing him and resetting to neutral. 2 seconds from unconsciousness if this were real. Brett's confidence flickered but held. He adjusted his approach, more cautious now. For the next minute, they exchanged techniques, Brett using competition MMA that was genuinely skilled, Sam using combat tactics that weren't about winning matches but about neutralizing threats efficiently. At the 2-minute mark, Brett went for a takedown, shooting low for her legs with good form and adequate speed. Sam's response was instantaneous and came from a toolkit Brett had never encountered. She sprawled to defend the takedown while simultaneously securing a position that, in real combat, would have allowed her to strike vulnerable targets that were illegal in sporting contexts. Knee to head, elbow to spine, Sam narrated, demonstrating control without contact. Both illegal in competition. Both immediately effective in assault scenarios. She released him and helped him up. Brett was breathing harder now, frustrated, his confidence fully shaken. He'd expected to dominate quickly. Instead, this middle-aged woman was systematically dismantling his techniques using approaches he'd never trained against. With 30 seconds left, Brett made a mistake born of frustration. He abandoned technical fighting and just rushed her, using size and strength to try to overwhelm her through sheer physical dominance. Sam's response was textbook special operations combatives, the system developed specifically for combat situations where technique had to overcome physical disadvantage. In 3 movements, she had Brett on the mat, his arm controlled in a position where additional pressure would dislocate his shoulder, her body weight positioned to negate his strength advantage. "Tap?" she asked quietly. Brett tapped. Twice. Emphatically. Sam released him immediately and offered her hand to help him up. He accepted, his face flushed with embarrassment but also, she noted with approval, genuine respect. "Time," Marcus called. 3 minutes. The space was silent. Then Maya started clapping, tentative at first, then enthusiastically. Other students joined in, applause filling the gym not for Sam's dominance over Brett, but for the demonstration that the techniques they were learning actually worked against someone with legitimate skill and physical advantages. Brett rubbed his shoulder, his cockiness replaced by curiosity. What the hell was that? Those weren't standard techniques. No, Sam agreed. They're combat techniques. Developed for situations where matches don't have referees and losing means dying. I told you, real-world violence doesn't follow tournament rules. Where'd you learn that? Brett's question was genuine now, stripped of arrogance. Sam hesitated, then decided limited honesty was tactical. 25 years in naval special warfare. Multiple combat deployments. The techniques I teach aren't better than MMA, they're just designed for different contexts. Competition fighting is a sport with rules. Combat is survival with none. Brett's eyes widened as understanding crashed over him. You're a SEAL. A woman SEAL. Retired. And technically, my service predated the official integration by quite a bit. I had alternative paths through the system. Sam's tone made it clear she wouldn't elaborate. But yes. SEAL. 25 years. Holy shit. Brett looked at his friends, who'd been filming the entire exchange. I just challenged a SEAL to a fight. A sparring demonstration, Sam corrected gently. And you did well, your techniques are solid, your training is good. You just haven't had to adapt them for scenarios where rules don't exist. That's not weakness, that's just different contexts. Would you? Brett paused, his earlier arrogance completely gone. Would you be willing to teach me? Like, actually teach combat applications? I've been competing for 5 years, but what you just did, I've never seen anything like it. Sam considered. She'd opened this school specifically to teach people how to protect themselves in real situations. Brett was young and had been arrogant, but he was also skilled, capable of learning, and now demonstrating the humility required for real growth. Maybe. Come back tomorrow, without the entourage, and we'll discuss what combat training actually involves. Fair warning, it's not glamorous, it's not about looking cool, and it requires unlearning habits that work great in competition but get you killed in real situations. I'll be here. Brett extended his hand, and Sam shook it, recognizing a teaching opportunity when she saw one. After Brett and his friends left, Marcus approached with a knowing smile. That was satisfying to watch. He's young. Young people are arrogant until life teaches them otherwise. Sam rolled her shoulders, feeling the familiar ache of having executed movements her body remembered even if it couldn't perform them quite as easily as 20 years ago. Besides, Maya needed to see that the techniques work. That's what mattered. Speaking of people who need to see things. Marcus nodded toward the door where someone else had entered during the demonstration, a man in his late 40s wearing business casual, carrying himself with the relaxed confidence of someone comfortable in their own skin. Dr. Michael Chen, the man introduced himself, approaching Sam with a warm smile. I'm opening a sports medicine clinic 2 blocks from here. Came by to introduce myself and see if there might be referral opportunities between our businesses. Arrived just in time to watch that demonstration, which was remarkable, by the way. Sam Cordero. She shook his hand, noting the calm competence in his grip. Sports medicine. What's your background? Johns Hopkins Medical School, 10 years as a military doctor with deployments to Iraq and Afghanistan, now civilian practice focusing on helping athletes and active individuals maintain performance. Michael's eyes held intelligence and humor. I've treated enough special operations personnel to recognize combat techniques when I see them. SEAL. Observant. Sam found herself liking this direct approach. Retired. 25 years. Impressive. And that shoulder lock you used, textbook positioning to minimize resistance while maximizing control. You've clearly maintained your training post-retirement. Michael pulled out a business card. I'd love to discuss collaboration. I suspect we serve overlapping populations who could benefit from both our expertise. Sam accepted the card, noticing that Michael hadn't treated her capability as surprising or unusual, just as factual information to be noted and respected. I'll call this week. Right now, I need to close up and get home before every muscle in my body reminds me I'm not 25 anymore. The price of longevity in physically demanding careers. Michael's smile was sympathetic and understanding. For what it's worth, you moved like someone half your age. Whatever training regimen you maintain is clearly working. After he left, Marcus grinned at Sam. He was flirting with you. He was being professional and collegial. But Sam felt a small flutter of interest she hadn't experienced in years. Michael Chen had looked at her and seen a peer, someone whose capabilities were worth respecting, whose age was just context rather than limitation, whose profession was interesting rather than threatening. Right. Professional. That's why he made a point of complimenting your technique and asking about collaboration. Marcus started stacking mats. You know you're allowed to have a personal life, boss. Retirement means you can actually do things besides training and operations. I have a personal life. I run this school. I have students. I'm very fulfilled. You have a professional life that you've substituted for personal connections. There's a difference. Marcus's tone was gentle but pointed. Dr. Chen seemed interesting. And interested. Might be worth exploring. Sam didn't respond, but as she locked up the school and drove home, she found herself thinking not about Brett's challenge or the satisfying demonstration, but about Michael Chen's warm smile and the way he'd looked at her with respect and interest rather than assumption or surprise. Maybe, just maybe, retirement could include more than just teaching. Maybe it could include connection with someone who saw her completely, the warrior, the teacher, the woman, and was interested in all of it. Sam called Michael's clinic 3 days later, intending to discuss professional collaboration. 30 minutes into the conversation, she realized they were talking about everything except business, deployment experiences, the challenge of transitioning from military to civilian life, shared frustrations with people who couldn't understand what service meant. "I'd like to continue this conversation," Michael said as their call approached an hour, "but I'm due at the hospital for consultations. Would you be interested in dinner? Actual dinner, not business networking disguised as a meal." Sam hesitated. She'd been asked out exactly 3 times since retiring, all by men who'd either been intimidated by her background or fetishized it. Michael seemed different, but that might be wishful thinking. "Dinner," she agreed. "But I need you to understand something, I'm not interested in casual dating. I've built a life post-military that's stable and meaningful. I'm not going to disrupt it for someone who's just curious about dating a former SEAL." "Fair. And you should understand that I'm not casual either. I'm 48, divorced 3 years ago from a marriage that failed because I was deployed more than home. I'm looking for genuine partnership with someone who understands that service leaves marks, physical and psychological, and that those marks aren't weaknesses." Michael's honesty was disarming. "I watched you control that MMA fighter with techniques that indicated decades of training and real-world application. I'm interested in a person who developed that capability, maintained it post-retirement, and uses it to teach others. If that's not something you're open to exploring, I'll respect that. But I'd like the chance to try." They had dinner that Friday at a quiet restaurant that catered to professionals who valued conversation over atmosphere. For 3 hours, they talked, about medicine and tactics, about losing colleagues and survivor's guilt, about finding purpose after careers that defined identity. "I lost a patient in Afghanistan," Michael shared over coffee. "Young Marine, gut wound, did everything by protocol, but he died anyway. Took me 2 years to accept that sometimes you do everything right and still lose. That's not failure, that's reality in combat zones. I lost my swim buddy in my 3rd year as a SEAL," Sam admitted. "Training accident that shouldn't have happened but did. I blamed myself for 6 months before my commander forced me into therapy. Taught me that survivor's guilt is logical but not rational, carrying it doesn't honor them, it just diminishes your own service." Sounds like a good commander. She was. Sam smiled at the memory. Commander Patricia Morrison. First woman to lead a SEAL team officially. She understood what it meant to carry weight that people assume you can't handle. Their conversations became regular, coffee after Sam's morning classes, dinner on Friday evenings, long phone calls when schedules made in-person meetings difficult. Michael started referring patients to Sam's school, athletes recovering from injury who needed confidence building alongside physical therapy. Sam started sending students with training injuries to Michael's clinic, trusting his expertise and military medical background. One evening, 6 weeks after their first dinner, Michael arrived at the school just as Sam was finishing an advanced class. He watched from the doorway as she demonstrated knife defense techniques, her movements still fluid and precise despite the physical demands. When class ended and students dispersed, Michael approached with an expression of concern. "How's your shoulder? I noticed you favoring it during that overhead technique." "Old injury. Acts up when I push too hard." Sam rotated the joint, feeling familiar tightness. "Hazard of maintaining capabilities past their operational prime. Come here." Michael guided her to a bench, his professional assessment gentle but thorough. "You've got inflammation in the rotator cuff. Probably overuse combined with scar tissue from previous trauma. When did you injure it originally?" 12 years ago. Combat operation, dislocated during a climbing evolution. Had surgery, did rehab, maintained function. Just reminds me occasionally that I'm not 25 anymore." "You maintain remarkable function for someone with that injury history." Michael's hands worked through assessment techniques, professional but intimate in the quiet gym. "But you're compensating with surrounding muscle groups. Long term, that creates other problems. I could help, targeted therapy, maybe some regenerative techniques we've developed for professional athletes. That would be professional treatment. Sam's voice held question beyond the words. Could be. Michael met her eyes directly. Or it could be someone who cares about you, making sure you can keep doing what you love without permanent damage. Your choice, which framework you prefer. Someone who cares about me, Sam echoed quietly. Is that what this is? Caring? I think it's become more than professional interest or even casual dating, Michael admitted. These past 6 weeks, I look forward to seeing you in ways I haven't experienced in years. You're brilliant, capable, funny when you let your guard down, and you understand parts of life that most people in my civilian world can't comprehend. So yes. I care about you. More than I probably should after 6 weeks. Sam felt walls she'd built over decades beginning to crack. I'm not easy, Michael. I have nightmares sometimes. I'm hypervigilant in crowds. I struggle with letting people close because everyone I've ever been close to in professional contexts either died or left. I'm 45 and I carry physical and psychological scars that aren't going away. I'm divorced because I prioritized service over relationship. I have my own nightmares about patients I couldn't save. I'm 48 and I carry guilt that therapy helped but didn't eliminate. Michael's hand found hers, his touch warm and certain. Maybe that's what makes this work, we're both damaged in ways we understand. Neither of us is trying to fix the other. We're just recognizing each other. Sam looked at this man, this doctor who'd served, who understood, who'd watched her capabilities without being threatened or fetishizing them, who was offering partnership rather than protection. Okay, she decided. Let's try this. Really try. Not just dinners and professional collaboration, but actual relationship. With the understanding that we're both still figuring out who we are post-service and that might be messy. Messy is fine. Michael pulled her closer, and their kiss was warm, unhurried, full of promise. I've spent 20 years in combat medicine. Messy is familiar territory. They left the gym together, Sam locking up while Michael waited patiently. As they walked to their cars, he took her hand, a simple gesture that felt significant, like permission to be something other than always strong, always capable, always in control. Come to my place, Sam heard herself say. Stay tonight. I don't want to wait anymore, we've both spent enough of our lives waiting. Michael's answer was another kiss, deeper this time. Lead the way. At Sam's house, a modest space filled with military memorabilia, training equipment, and books on tactics and leadership, they shed professional personas along with clothes. Michael traced scars on Sam's body with gentle reverence, each mark a story she shared: shrapnel from Afghanistan, surgical scar from shoulder repair, knife wound from training accident. Sam explored Michael's body with equal care, finding his scars, surgical marks from hernia repair, burn scar from treating casualties near fire, the tension in his back from years of hunching over operating tables. You're beautiful, Michael said against her neck, his hands learning the landscape of her body. Strong and scarred and absolutely beautiful. You're the first person who's ever said that and meant all of it, the strength and the scars. Sam's voice was thick with emotion she rarely allowed herself to feel. They made love with the intensity of people who'd waited not just weeks but years for genuine connection, Sam finally allowing herself vulnerability, Michael demonstrating through touch that her strength was what attracted him, not something he needed to overcome or control. Afterward, tangled together in her bed, Michael traced patterns on her shoulder. I meant what I said earlier. I care about you. This isn't casual for me. It's not casual for me either. Sam turned in his arms to face him. I haven't let anyone this close in, maybe ever. The combination of being SEAL and being a woman meant relationships were complicated by assumptions, either I was too much or not enough, too threatening or not feminine enough. You're the first person who seems to see all of it and want all of it. Because all of it is remarkable. Michael kissed her softly. The warrior, the teacher, the woman still figuring out who she is in retirement. I want to know all those versions of you. They fell asleep together, and when Sam woke from a nightmare at 3 a.m., the familiar dream of operations gone wrong, teammates lost, Michael was there, grounding her with touch and whispered reassurance that she was safe, home, no longer deployed. Sorry, Sam muttered, embarrassed. This happens sometimes. I know. I have them too. Different scenarios, operating rooms, casualties, decisions made under pressure that haunt you afterward. Michael pulled her closer. We can have nightmares together. Take turns being the anchor. And Sam realized that maybe this, partnership with someone who understood service and sacrifice, who saw her completely and chose to stay anyway, was what retirement could offer beyond teaching and training. Maybe warriors could have love, if they found the right partner. Maybe she'd found hers in a sports medicine doctor who'd served as a military physician and understood exactly what it meant to carry weight, make impossible decisions, and still try to build something beyond service. 6 months after their first dinner, Sam and Michael had built something neither had experienced before, genuine partnership that honored both their professional identities and personal connection. Michael had moved into Sam's house, and they'd converted the garage into a combined space, physical therapy equipment alongside Sam's training gear, both pursuing their missions of helping people maintain capability and confidence. The collaboration between Sam's defense school and Michael's clinic had become formalized, a comprehensive program for assault survivors, veterans with PTSD, and athletes recovering from injury. Sam taught physical confidence and tactical awareness. Michael provided medical support and psychological resources. Together, they'd created something greater than either could build alone. We've got 23 people enrolled in the trauma recovery program, Sam reported during breakfast, reviewing schedules on her tablet. 15 assault survivors, 8 veterans. Maya's volunteering as a peer mentor, she's come so far since that first class. She's remarkable. So is her mentor. Michael kissed Sam's shoulder as he passed, coffee in hand. I'm proud of what we've built here. This matters, helping people reclaim agency after trauma. It wouldn't work without you. The medical and psychological support is what makes it sustainable. I can teach techniques, but you're helping heal the underlying trauma that makes them necessary. Sam pulled him down for a proper kiss. Best collaboration I've ever had. Professional collaboration. Michael's tone was teasing. That too. Sam's smile was warm. But I was thinking more about the personal partnership. I've never had that before, someone who supports my work while building their own, who understands service without competing over whose was more demanding, who sees capability as attractive rather than threatening. Right back at you. Michael settled into the chair beside her. I have something to ask you. Brett Donovan, your cocky MMA fighter who's become a genuinely excellent student, he's asked if we'd consider expanding the program. Teaching combat veterans how to transition their tactical skills into civilian security or self-defense instruction. Create career pathways for people struggling with post-service identity. Sam considered this, immediately seeing the potential. That could work. We'd need funding, space, curriculum development. I've already written a grant proposal. Veterans Affairs is interested. So is a private foundation that funds transition programs. Michael pulled up documents on his tablet. I wanted to check with you before submitting. This would expand our mission significantly, require more of your time, potentially transform the school from side project to full-time operation. Do it. Sam's decision was immediate. This is exactly what we should be doing, helping operators find purpose after service, teaching them to channel their capabilities constructively. I'll start developing curriculum. The grant was approved 3 months later, and Sam's school transformed into the Tactical Transition Institute, a comprehensive program helping special operations veterans develop teaching credentials, civilian security skills, and business knowledge to build their own programs. Brett was the first graduate, opening his own school that combined MMA with combat tactics. One evening, after a long day of teaching a class of former Rangers and SEALs, Sam returned home to find Michael had cooked dinner and set up a romantic table on their back patio. "What's the occasion?" she asked, accepting the glass of wine he offered. "Do I need an occasion to appreciate the remarkable woman I'm lucky enough to share life with?" But Michael's expression held something more, nervous anticipation that suggested this wasn't just a romantic gesture. After dinner, as they watched the sunset, Michael took Sam's hand. "I've been thinking about our future. We've built something extraordinary, the Institute, our program, this partnership. I want to make it official. Not just living together, not just professional collaboration. I want marriage, Sam. Full commitment to building a life together." Sam felt her breath catch. She'd been married once, briefly, in her 20s, a relationship that couldn't survive her SEAL career and had ended in resentment. She'd assumed that chapter of life was closed. "I need you to understand what you're asking," she said slowly. "I'm 46 years old, I carry more emotional baggage than most people accumulate in a lifetime. I'm not going to change who I fundamentally am, and I'll probably always be more comfortable teaching combat than attending social events. I know exactly who you are. That's why I'm asking." Michael pulled out a simple ring, no flashy diamond, just elegant design that was pure Sam. "I'm not asking you to change. I'm asking you to be exactly yourself while building a life with someone who loves everything that makes you who you are. The warrior, the teacher, the woman who's still learning to trust vulnerability. I want all of it. All of you. Permanently." Sam looked at this man, this partner who'd seen her capabilities and been impressed rather than intimidated, who'd supported her mission while building his own, who understood service and sacrifice and found ways to honor both. "Yes," she said, certainty filling her voice. "Yes, I'll marry you. Because you're right, we've built something extraordinary. And I want to keep building it together." Their wedding 3 months later was small, military colleagues, students from the Institute, patients from Michael's clinic. Marcus served as Sam's best man. Brett gave a speech about how Sam had taught him that true strength included the humility. Recognize what you don't know. Commander Morrison, Sam's former commander, now retired admiral, attended and pulled Sam aside during the reception. "You've built something remarkable here. The Institute is doing what the military should have been doing for decades, helping operators transition with dignity and purpose. I'm proud of you. Thank you, ma'am. For everything, for being the example that made this possible, for forcing me into therapy when I needed it, for showing me that warriors could have full lives beyond service. You're doing the same for the next generation. That's legacy, Sam. Not the operations you ran, not the missions you completed, this. Teaching others to channel their capabilities constructively while building a life worth living." 1 year into their marriage, Sam and Michael's Institute had graduated 47 veterans into new careers. Their trauma recovery program had helped over 100 survivors reclaim agency. And their personal partnership had deepened into something neither had believed possible, genuine love between two people who'd served, sacrificed, and found each other in retirement. Standing together at a graduation ceremony, watching former operators receive certifications to teach self-defense and trauma recovery, Sam leaned against Michael's shoulder. "We did good," she said quietly. "We did. But you did it first, retiring with purpose, building something meaningful, being willing to demonstrate your capabilities when a cocky kid challenged you in your own gym." Michael kissed her temple. "That demonstration started all of this." "No," Sam corrected. "That demonstration was just tactics. What started this was you walking in during that demonstration and seeing not just capability but potential for partnership. You saw all of me and decided that was worth knowing. That made the difference. Then we both did good." Michael pulled her close. "And we'll keep doing it. Together." They were warriors who'd found peace, not by abandoning their capabilities, but by channeling them into teaching, healing, and building a life that honored both their service and their humanity. The cocky MMA fighter had challenged a retired SEAL, expecting easy victory. Instead, he'd learned humility, found a mentor, and become part of a movement helping veterans transition with dignity. And Sam had found something she'd stopped believing was possible, a partner who saw her strength and loved her more for it, who understood that warriors could be vulnerable, who proved that the strongest relationships were those built on mutual respect, genuine understanding, and the courage to be completely yourself with someone brave enough to love all of it. The end Claude is AI and can make mistakes. Please double-check responses.